What's up, LEGO builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for another week of building Cato Neimoidia. Before I get into the video, I want to apologize if it sounds like I'm trying to do a terrible Batman impersonation. I've had a sore throat and been kind of sick for the past few days, and it's starting to tear at my throat, so can't really speak super well. As a result, I'm going to try and keep this brief. I'm going to be working on the buildings this week. I got a bunch of parts in, and I'm going to be figuring out like what the design is going to look like and what the actual architecture of each individual building is going to look like. Finally, after what feels like forever, you guys are going to get to see some actual buildings. I do also have some 442nd troops I'm going to be decaling. Really excited to show you guys what I have planned. All that being said, let's get into the update. So here's a look at a little decaling session I had this week. I worked on 3 442nd troopers. They're just the plain grunts, the decals that I got from Jonak Toys, so they should be pretty simple. I've actually really come to enjoy decaling. Back when I first started, I didn't understand the full process of applying the decal and getting it to stick. So a lot of my early decals are pretty bad. They were starting to come off and peel. But I've revisited the process, talked to some people, and they helped me figure out like a better way to apply the decals and get them to stick. And I also started using the matte clear sealant instead of the matte gloss, and that really helps a ton. That one is less shiny and dries quicker, and kind of, in my opinion, I feel like it just helps bond the decal to the minifigure really nicely. So I'll be using that for these troopers as well. I'm interested to see how many more clones I get decaled for this mock, just because we're heading into winter here where I live, and so we're getting to the point where the weather is not nice enough for me to be able to decal. So I'm glad I was able to get at least these 3 in, but I would like to get at least 5 more done for the mock. Probably one of the largest and most expensive Bricklink orders I have made in remembrance. There might be a bigger one, but I don't remember what it was. So this is going to be a ton of parts for the city, as well as some stuff. So you can see right off the bat there is a lot of pearl gold. I bought some of these rims right here because I felt like these would make cool looking towers. Because if you remember, I was showing you on the city, there were lots of these round spires and towers. So I'm going to be stacking up a bunch of these to create a bunch of those. And this is the drill piece that I was talking about. I don't know if you guys remember. I saw this and thought it would make a pretty cool little, tower top, just sitting on top of these things like that. So I got a few of those. I did also snag some battle droids because they were some really cheap. Just a lot of pearl gold. And then I got these trans blue bricks. These are going to be used for the windows. And then I got some poles, some stuff for Geonosis, some more stuff for my AV7 anti-vehicle cannons, just a whole host of parts. Some dark orange. Got a bunch of these. It was really hard to find like a lot of practical pieces in pearl gold, like bricks and plate. So I'm going to have to get some more dark bluish gray plate. I bought a bunch of these. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be using them anymore. Back before I had bought these, I was planning on putting a bunch of slopes underneath the bottom of the edge of the city right here. And then after I bought all these, I realized actually I can just put I'm actually just going to put plate on the bottom. I don't know why I was thinking there were going to be slopes under here, because, the top mirrors the bottom along this whole mock, so I don't know why suddenly right here I would switch. So fortunately, I'm not going to be using any of those. Luckily, they weren't too expensive. I did also get a ton of heads. I think I bought about 30 heads because I have a ton of Black Falcon soldiers that I need to assemble, but I didn't get enough heads, so bought a bunch of those. Got some more like random greebling and detail pieces. I did buy some pieces to make some statues out of gold too. All in all, this means I should be set to finally start building some of the actual buildings. My first building for Cato Neimoidia is officially done, and this isn't even like, a rough rendering. This is pretty much what the building's going to look like. Sorry, it's on this giant base plate, so I'm having trouble rotating it. I guess there are some parts that aren't finished on it. Basically, what we've got here is kind of like an apartment building. I'm going to be working in 8x8 sections, most likely 8x8, 8x10. So the buildings are all going to be pretty square, pretty narrow like this, but luckily I don't have any height restrictions, so I can go as tall as I want. So I would like to make these fairly tall to help add to the city and just make it look bigger than it actually is. So what we've got here is a door, windowed area here in the center, and then up here on the top we're going to have a little balcony section. I made a little gold balcony just out of some random parts. I feel like it looks pretty cool. Kind of gives you the vibe of like an ornate balcony that you'd see on like a mansion or some kind of wealthy person's house. Then on the top I just tiled it off, a little bit of a pyramid pattern. I did have a little cone looking thing that I was going to stick on the top, but it looked like a ridiculous party hat or something, so I decided to save that for something else. It's pretty much done. Once I get this installed on the actual city, I'm going to continue this light bluish gray pattern down here on the bottom. I'm trying to figure out more things I can do like this to make the buildings look fancier and much more ornate. Typically, a lot of the mocks I do are all very practical wartime mocks, bases, battles, natural structures. This is really my first time doing some large scale ornate building, and I'm kind of struggling with it because I'm so practically minded that when it comes to like fancy nonsense detailing, I'm not good at all. And so hopefully with this mock I can learn to improve and really make these buildings look fancy. Another thing I need to fix is the inside here. So I don't know if I like you just being able to see this room in here. I feel like it doesn't really make sense for the building. So I'm thinking about either putting black brick on the inside so there's still windows but you can't see through it, or some kind of plate on the inside. Let me know what you think I should do in here. I'm not going to do any kind of interior just because that wouldn't really make sense logistically. But if you have any options for helping me out there, I would love to hear them down below in the comments. I do need to finish tiling off this section. I ran out of these 1x2 tiles, but luckily I think I've got like 50 more coming. So I should be able to, finish this building pretty soon. So as far as like the building designs go, I'm thinking about having 3, maybe 4 different kinds of buildings and then just repeating that over and over. So I would like to build a bunch of these and then, just place them throughout the mock, maybe have some slight variation on them. That way I'm not trying to come up with a million different kinds of buildings, and the city will have some kind of semblance of order and pattern. Another thing I'm thinking about doing is once I have these buildings on the city, I'm actually going to be creating these little walkways across the road here. So basically I'll be bridging these, and I feel like that'll be cool just because it'll make the city look bigger, more connected, and I'll have more areas to place troops to fire down on each other on the streets. All that being said, I am so happy to finally have a building done. And now that I kind of have an idea of like where I can put gold and what pieces I'm going to use, I can order in a lot more and really start to crank out these buildings. I would like to have at least one more building designed by the end of this week.
Okay, here is the final update for the week. So this is the second building design I came up with. I don't know if they're going to be buildings or just towers, power generators, some kind of energy coil. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with these. Let me know down below in the comments what these look like and what you would use them for. But I've got a couple different sizes, shapes, heights, just to give myself some variety. And I want to get a lot more of these cone pieces and these tire pieces just because I feel like this is a really cool looking design and I want to have more of these on the city. I feel like it'll help make it look more like an actual city. I was actually even thinking about maybe connecting them to some of the buildings somewhere, but I'm not sure. I might just, group them together like this. We'll see. I also got those 442nd decal troopers all put together. They turned out pretty good. This guy I screwed up on the legs. So unfortunately, he's going to have no leg printing, which looks a little bit weird. So he might end up being one of the dead clone troopers that, is face down or something. And then I ran out of blank helmets. So I had to use some of these DK collectible 442nd helmets. I bought them a while back and never ended up using them. So I'm actually glad that I held on to them and didn't get rid of them because now I can use them for all three of these guys. The colors still match fairly nicely. If you're looking at it from a distance, you can't really tell, but I think, the color of the decals is slightly lighter than the color on the helmets, but I don't think it's too noticeable. So I'm glad to have 3 more of these done for the army. I'm not sure how many more I'm going to get decal just because it's been pretty stormy here recently and super cold, but if the weather warms up at all, I might try and get a couple more of these done. So I didn't get as much done as I would have liked with the city at the end of this week because I was busy working on this magnificent creation, the UCS AT-AT. I've been working on it for 2 days straight now, and I'm almost done. I just have to do the roof and then this side of the AT-AT. I've got some figures in here as well. Got the snowtroopers with a decaled commando, and then up here I've got some of my stormtroopers. Hint, hint at a future mock coming up, but I absolutely love this set. The build was so much fun. It's a lot more pieces than the UCS Star Destroyer, but I actually enjoyed building the AT-AT a lot more. I would definitely build this set again. I'm super excited to have it all finished. I have some cool things that I want to do with this. All that being said, that is another week done for Cato Neimoidia, and it's time to hit that outro. I hope you guys enjoyed this week of building Cato Neimoidia. I'm hoping now that I have a bunch of parts in and I actually have some concrete physical buildings to look at and compare to, I should be able to fly through the buildings now. I really hope so. That's the plan by the end of the year. I would like to have most of the city area populated with buildings, sidewalks, and medians and stuff, and then I can go in and put in, the finishing details in the coming year. All that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching. Don't forget to let me know what you thought about this update down below in the comments, and I will catch you guys next time. But until then, happy building.